All right. This is a recording for today's webinar, which is about my organization's exposure to ransomware and how to tell it. Um, we're very excited to be here. Thank you all for your time. Thank you for listening today. My goal today is really to challenge your conventional thinking when it comes to ransomware. And we're going to have some fun while we do it. I'm going to tell you some new strategies and really just level set with what we're seeing with ransomware. October 2020, what's the forecast for the future? What key statistics you need to know to help make security decisions for your organization? And with that, I'm going to jump right in. So I like to say, if ransomware were stock, it should absolutely be in your portfolio. Be all in, be bullish. It's going to continue growing. If you look at 2020, ransomware was already taken off before the pandemic. January, February, it was skyrocketing then. Now, fast forward through this pandemic and all the new vulnerabilities introduced, and it's just simply skyrocketing higher, exponential growth. So, why is this? What's going on? What's the dynamic? Well, frankly, it's the preferred way of the attackers right now. They're having tremendous success, and why not? Follow that path to success. I'm a sales guy. If something's working with me closing deals, I'm going to stick to that. You're seeing the same thing play out with ransomware and the attackers, and they're getting more and more organized, more and more emboldened, as you'll see throughout this presentation. Now, a little humor mixed in before we get this. What we're seeing is, there's actual job titles out there at enterprises for ransomware negotiators. You'll see some enterprises simply just put their arms up in exasperation and start paying the ransoms. And hopefully nobody on this call has this strategy. I certainly hope you just aren't throwing in the towel here. But a lot of this is happening. That's why these payments, they're being made. They're getting money very quickly with low level of effort, and that's why this is really just poised to go higher and higher. So this is just kind of a cartoon I saw that was really relevant for today's talk. All right, let's get into some statistics now. The growing cost of ransomware. 2019, 11 billion total, worldwide. You're getting up to 20 billion, doubling quickly in a year. This number is going to keep climbing up. So, the performance of that ransomware stock just keep going up. And it's also, the attack that costs the most when you compare it with the traditional data breach and data exfiltration, exposure of sensitive data, and also just malicious breaches in general. This one's a high pain one, and you can even double down on the ransomware attack, as I'll show you. Couple recent examples highlighting the growth of ransomware and the costs. The ransom payments are going way up. This is a light utility company in Brazil, Telecom Argentina. So, more utility background. What you're seeing there, ransom payment hit 7 million payment. Within 3 days, escalated 14 million, $15 million range. So, these guys are very good at pressure techniques to, get what they want. And they're ultimately going to, browse your network, hijack that most sensitive information if you let them, and then launch that ransomware attack. And that's what we're seeing. So, Telecom Light, that's what where we are now. Getting into higher accounts, you got Hydro. This is a renewable energy company out of Norway, 30 million. Modelos in Spain, 100 million. This company, the shipping transit company out of Denway, you guys probably recognize that logo, $300 million ransom payment. Those are just the payments. You're not even getting into the disruption that you're seeing at the business level. So expect ransomware ransoms to go up. The payments to go up, and just more crippling attacks. Now, also, you're going to have greater frequency. This just highlights 2020, every 14 seconds, you shave 3 seconds off. So you're now at 11 seconds. Number of victims are still paying this. This is hard to know, but we know that more and more people are just, again, going back to that cartoon. Here's your money, Mr. Attacker. Let me have my business back. Now, just because you do that doesn't mean that they recover their data. They still hold the leverage. They still get to do whatever they feel like. A lot of them are doubling down as data exfiltration attacks, where they then, release sensitive data on the dark web and start selling it, looking to draw revenue that way too. Few examples to highlight. University of Utah. This is a university that got hit with ransomware attacks. They did everything right with their backups. They still had to make the ransom payment, $500K. They wanted to protect their students and their staff. They didn't want their sensitive data to hit the market. Garmin, this is a big one that's got a lot of attention here. You guys, I'm sure, probably know them. The GPS company. They got hit. We think it was $10 million. And what's interesting about them is, the payment was facilitated through third-party partners. Specifically, that looks like their incident response SOC operations partner might have played a role. And so much that the U.S. government, then offered advisories to say, hey, if you guys are involved with these ransom payments, we're coming after you too. You can't do that. That's only going to encourage more ransom attacks. And, that includes insurance companies, that includes the SOC providers, that also includes the financial technology providers that are facilitating these payments. So that gets into the fintech providers. So, very interesting case there. Tesla, sure you guys may have saw this one. This is where the internal employee was approached with a bribe of $1 million. Hey, compromise your network, help me get in, help me get a footprint. I want to launch a major attack on Tesla that could have led to a ransomware attack. So, just a few examples to highlight there. Now, percentage of companies reported being affected by ransomware. The message here, internationally, every corner of the globe is getting hit right now. Greater than 1 out of 2 businesses are impacted by ransomware. Like I said, if it were a stock, these numbers are just going to keep going up. And why wouldn't it? You guys, they're having tremendous success, making a lot of money very quickly, low efforts to do it. So only expect this to go up. And we're living in a pretty desperate world right now, as you guys probably see in your corner of the globe too. All right, let's get into some specific industries. What are some trends? What are we seeing? Well, first off, a lot of these guys, government, utilities, they're getting hit more and more. They're very active. They have a lot of money right now. So, you're seeing ransomware attackers go after them. Now, what we're really seeing, though, is healthcare and education start going up. They were really low, but they're going up now. These are 2 spaces that have really been using, older IT technology for, a long time. Healthcare uses very specific IT solutions with medical IoT and whatnot. And cybersecurity attackers are going after them. They're getting hit. And I'll get through some examples here in a second. And then financial, they're always going to be a target. Now, they've done a little better job at, knowing cybersecurity, maintaining a more robust program. They've had to with compliance, greater security controls, but you're still seeing some ransomware attacks at the financial stage. Banco Estado, one of the largest banks in the South American country of Chile, they got hit up, disrupted from their business for multiple days, had to close everything down. Think of the impact of that. So they got in the network, ransomware attack launched. Couple other examples in healthcare, IQVIA. This is a CRO that is assisting companies like Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, these pharma companies looking to develop a COVID vaccine. Really important research right now. Can you imagine if you're a scientist that works for IQVIA, going in and you're locked out of all your data for, these studies and what to do? chances are you're going to have to get back online really quickly, make that attacker go away, make that ransom payment. That's what we're seeing. University Hospital in Dusseldorf, Germany. This was one where you saw catastrophic impact for this university hospital. All right, they got hit, they got nailed, and what happened was their emergency department was shut down. A female patient had to be transported 25 miles away to another hospital. They couldn't intake her at this university hospital in Dusseldorf. She ended up dying. She didn't get her immediate care that she needed, by delaying her care. And that ransomware attack is it really caused somebody's death. So you're seeing really catastrophic impacts play out with these ransomware attacks. Now, the good news is not all of it's doom and gloom. We'll talk about some strategies here. A recent report from the analyst group Gartner, 90% of attacks are preventable. Security fundamentals, a lot of people can do a lot with security fundamentals. Teaching that culture, awareness, doing your traditional pen testing, vulnerability scanning, that's going to help with your preventative precautions, endpoint security. But a lot of it needs to be, that ability to immediately respond, being in the right place to respond quickly. And that leads me to my next point, dwell time. How long are attackers sitting in networks, going undetected, and why? Why? When you look at the average statistic, more than 6-7 months, attackers are sitting in networks going undetected for your traditional breaches, your traditional data exfiltration breaches. I mean, that is just mind-boggling. And this is with enterprises that have very fancy technologies, state-of-the-art, extensive cybersecurity, budgets. Equifax, Target, Capital One, Yahoo, you name it. They have plenty of money to make this problem not be a problem. But they're still bad at it. They're still missing the mark here, and we're going to look at why. Ransomware dwell times, a specific case here, 43 days. So this is more, a matter of weeks. And the only reason why it's shorter is because, they end up letting you know there's an attack in the first place. When you start seeing that flashing on your screen, you're locked out of your system, that dwell time is over. They don't need months and months and months to stage their attacks. They're very efficient. They want to, hit that jackpot quickly, and that's what they're doing. So, this becomes more about limiting this dwell time. Why can't we as an industry make these closer to 0 and 1 days, and then really work to stop what's happening once they're in the network? All right. What can we do from here? Where do we go? The first thing is you really got to shift that mindset. You got to assume people are getting in your network, that you are compromised in the first place. Prove it otherwise. No matter what all your preventative solutions and security testing saying, your pen testing, you're doing everything right, but you still have to assume they are in your network and operate your day-to-day with that mindset. Now, what specifically can you do to do that? Well, it starts with unlocking your network metadata. All right. This is often a underutilized resource at your disposal, and more enterprises that are looking to mature along the security curve, they're tapping into their network metadata. Why? Well, if you look at the playbook of an attacker, every attack, whether it's, a malicious attack or taking advantage of a vulnerability or some type of insider, the attacks follow the same cycle along this cyber kill chain to data exfiltration. The common denominator that you can't lose sight of, the adversaries must use the network too. They absolutely have to carry out their attack. They have to get in and communicate with your infrastructure, with your IT assets. So this quickly becomes more about knowing what your network metadata is trying to tell you, right? And then operationalizing that intelligence. So very quickly, the value proposition of Lumu, what do we do? How do we work? We offer this concept of a continuous compromise assessment. Every second of the day, we're going to be assessing your network for compromise and letting you know about it. How? We unlock your network metadata. We bring this to life. You have to believe that fundamental approach that the adversaries have to use your network, okay? And you have to be really good at understanding and listening to what your network metadata is saying. There's a famous quote, to learn, you have to listen first. Listen to your network metadata. Lumu will bring this to life for you. Now, that information is correlated, and ultimately we're able to deliver identified compromised devices. And none of this is theoretical. None of this is preventative. This is actual compromised devices with context, which devices, who are they communicating with, timestamps, all that stuff. Stuff that your security analysts are going to want to know about and put into play, right? The stuff that really matters. It's not about all those theoretical thousands of attacks that could come in. No, it's about, this is where I'm compromised right now. This is what I need to know about. This is what I need to do. You are put in this position of a precise response. With this, you are then able to do your job and protect the organization, right? You can respond. And Lumu is going to help you with these three phases. And we're going to offer this continuous compromise assessment. Now, what specific metadata? What are we talking about? What and why? I'm not going to get into all this too deep today. If you want, hit me up, email, and we're going to schedule a demo. We can do a deeper dive. But for a larger ransomware talk, I want to keep this more general. But essentially, the message here is your network right at this moment is generating plenty of network metadata that can tell your security story. All right. You just got to tap into it. You got to correlate it and make sense of it. That's what Lumu does with our cloud-based SaaS offering. We're going to correlate your data, and we're going to show you within our portal exactly where you're compromised. Now, few examples here. DNS, right out of the gate. If you have an IT asset that's resolving out to adversarial infrastructure, the evidence is clear. You have to assume compromise and take that intelligence seriously. Operationalize those IOCs. Now, the next thing is, you're going to want to know, where are they moving within the network? Where are they seeking, privileged access? What are they trying to get a hold of in file transfers? This is all in the net flows. So, net flow network metadata, let's correlate that too and show you what's going on so you know what they're getting after. Firewalls and proxies, this is big. Access logs here, because if the attackers aren't able to, essentially get your machines to resolve out to adversarial infrastructure, they're going to try to enter right north-south. They're going to try to gain access to your networks right through these. So we correlate these, and then Spambox finally. Spambox is such an afterthought, such an underutilized resource. This is one that I encourage you guys on the call. Use this. Why is it just sitting there sandboxed and quarantined? Look to see if the infrastructure we see within spam is associated with your network, and we're seeing the IT assets resolve out to those associated attacks. Use that Spambox as a threat intelligence source. With the power of cloud computing today, you absolutely can do that. And so many organizations still are not doing. That's what we mean by unlock the potential of your network metadata to measure compromise and have context. And this is applicable across your hybrid infrastructure, on-prem, cloud computing, roaming devices, all that comes into play, ready to work with you. Now, I want to take you into a real example where we were able to successfully stop that 43-day dwell time with ransomware attacks, right? Immediately. So this is a large international bank. We started seeing adversarial communication with IT assets with Maze, the Maze ransomware infrastructure. So right out of the gate, we start seeing communication, that dwell time is immediately stopped. We know what's going on. And now, because the financial institution knows exactly which IT asset is communicating, they're able to follow this attack. They're able to follow the attackers inside the network. The attackers ramp up communication. They're getting more aggressive and moving laterally. But the institution is able to follow this, and ultimately, they're in that position to respond precisely and stop these attacks. And ultimately, the attack is contained and the Maze ransomware is eradicated. This is what I'm telling you about the power of network metadata. Completely there for the taking for you guys. All right. Now, the benefits of a continuous compromise assessment, as you can see from that last use case. First of all, you're going to start intentionally and looking for compromises. If you're not doing this today, think about all the solutions you have in place. Are they intentionally looking for compromise and detecting it? You have to have that mindset going forward. Operationalize the intelligence. Expand the traditional cybersecurity testing, right? Pen testing, vulnerability scanning, these gaps assessments. All of that is good stuff. You've been taught that over the last decade, but you have to expand to include what's called a compromise assessment. All right? Assume that there's compromise, show where. Expand your testing practices. If you're leaving that out of the equation, eventually that's going to come back to haunt you. What I really like about this is for strategic CISOs, you start seeing if your security architecture is going to be effective. Are the solutions you've heavily invested in, your endpoint solutions, your SIEMs, your firewalls, your email security, are all that stuff, is that panning out for you? If so, why are we still seeing so much compromise within your network, right? Doesn't add up. Something needs to happen. And what we call that is our feedback loop. All right, so this is a really cool slide to illustrate this point. This triangle here is your security architecture, right? Every day attacks are coming in from the attackers, onslaught of attacks, lots of different type of attacks. We assume that our architecture is holding up and blocking them and limit them, useless, not block, they're not getting in our network, right? But are we measuring behind this? Are we really looking inside the network? With Lumu, we're going to close this loop. We're going to measure your compromise levels day in and day out. We're going to give you metrics and a feedback loop so you know more about this performance of your cybersecurity architecture. This is the only manner you're going to be able to manage your architecture, if the performance of your solutions. You cannot manage your performance without metrics. Don't just blindly assume all these solutions because they're expensive and they sound good are working. Measure compromise on the back end. Close this system. Close this open system. That's the only way in cybersecurity we're really going to stop these dwell times and these breaches. The only way, close this up and operationalize this intelligence. And that's really what Lumu can do for you. All right. Kind of, wanted to go off cybersecurity topic here and draw some parallels with something else. I'm very passionate about plants and reforestation. Maybe a lot of you on this call can relate to this. I see some parallels with cybersecurity. So, a lot of the reforestation efforts have been monoculture based. Find one species, looks like a forest to the untrained eye, but really, what's going on here? This needed new thinking. This was traditional thinking for a long time, but thankfully, thanks to a guy in Japan who was rebuilding Japan after the major tsunami, there's new unconventional thinking when it comes to rebuilding our forests, right? Stick with the native plants and do something totally different to make this dense area, tons of species, which ultimately are going to help the insects the pollinators, the birds, bring back wildlife, and have these major benefits for the ecosystem that you just weren't seeing here. And a lot of this, a lot of industries are in these transitions, and cybersecurity, I think, needs to have major transitions too, right? Universities, education, how can I get better? Utilities, how can I offer cleaner energy, more efficient? It's the same thing with cybersecurity. Challenge your guys' conventional thinking. A lot of it goes back with the whole idea of using your network metadata and becoming so good at understanding your network metadata that you can then operationalize the intelligence. Same thing here. All right, so with that, my call to action to you, if you felt like this resonated, you want to know more about what your network metadata is trying to tell you, and you want to do it in a matter of minutes, go open a Lumu free account. Go to lumu.io. You're going to see how to do this. You can open some gateways, start sending us your network metadata, and we're going to start measuring your exposure to ransomware. We're going to start seeing your IT assets communicating out. And we're going to tell you this all for free, right? You can do this. Understand your compromised profile the same day. If you can start sending us the network metadata, we're going to start telling you this. You're going to have a good idea just how compromised your network is. And you're going to then be able to operationalize this intelligence. This isn't a cybersecurity solution that takes months upon months to deploy. This isn't a product that just takes resources and employee training. All that, you got to get rid of that old traditional mindset to move at the speed of light with this stuff. And with the power of today, with cloud computing, data correlating, AI, ML, all that stuff, it's at your fingertips to use. It's up to you guys to do it, though, all right? I'm here to help you along the way. So with that, I just want to end this presentation. I know we're tight on time here. So if you do have any Q&A, if you have any questions, or you want to do that deeper product dive, go through the actual portal, understand more about the data correlation and how we collect the data, write me, dsylvester@lumu.io, and we're going to make sure you get this going. Stay motivated, and, thank you guys for your time today. I really appreciate it, and we hope to hear from you. We're going to be looking out for your Lumu free accounts, and let's start measuring compromise. It's up to you to do it. Let's talk soon. Thank you guys, and have a great day.